I am the only survivor of a brutal bandit attack, and over the next 4 years I must establish a working settlement worthy of our bloody king, provide for my people while fighting wild animals and the many bandits plaguing this land, but also recruit villagers to do my dirty work, and create a semi-functional society of people who are more or less happy to live in my village, and all that while actively trying to prolong my own bloodline. This is my 4 years of creating the perfect medieval dynasty. We start off with a short cinematic explaining that our very medieval group of settlers got very medievally impaled. Bandits ambushed us on our way to create a new settlement in this beautiful land, and took whatever we had, all while the boss bandit guy menacingly dropped the logo screen. And speaking of dropping, I for one was dropped into the character editor to become the ultimate medieval man. I picked some options I thought looked cool, and ended up with a guy that looked exactly like the type to be called Brian. But that's too easy, so I called him something a bit more appropriate. I woke up in a smelly medieval hut. Nothing around me, just a bunch of beds and potions. I struggled with the doors, since no button seemed to work on them, and just learned that you have to physically walk through them, exactly the way medieval people did back in the good old days. But after that I was free of the hut shackles. And oh damn, this is Piastovia, a medium-sized medieval settlement and the main city of the region. And believe me, I will be going in and out of here many times throughout this playthrough, be it for trading with the locals or to pick up some quests from the troubled. But for now I started exploring around, and the first thing I noticed is that Piastovia's youth is very special. And actually, I seem to have a quest of some sort, tracked and marked and all, so I found the guy I'm supposed to talk to. This is Sedowin, a barber who seems to have saved me, and since I seem to be fine, he of course told me to talk to yet another guy. And hey, I have something called an inspector mode built into my eyes. I can see important things through walls and stuff like Batman. It does take stamina though. So I walk searching for the next guy, and oh hey, I found a pigeon spot. I climbed up the fortification stairs and found Mirgad, the Piastovia's castellan. He tells me in a rather rude way that he made a deal with my guild, and there were supposed to be more builders, crafters, architects and such, like it's my fault they got impaled or something. I told him not to worry, I will build a whole freaking settlement with my own bare hands. So he gave me the building permit and walked off right into my face. I guess I can build my village wherever I'd like. But that wasn't enough talking yet. Now I went to Derwan, the local quartermaster. After a brief trash talking of the castellan and his obtuse behaviors, Derwan told me that he left some supplies for me in some chests around here to help out with the village building and stuff. And hey, I just noticed I have a whole map I can look at. Not to mention the other menu tab. We have a full-blown RPG inventory system, skills and perk points, management tab with statistics and automation settings. We even have little tutorial videos for when I will undoubtedly get lost. While looking for the chest with supplies, I was walking in random houses, and oh hey, you can rob people. But now I was wandering around and looking for the freaking chest, and believe me, I had no idea where to look. I did have a couple of safety regulation issues with the village though, but after a while I managed to find the chest next to the barber's house, and in it a whole set of copper tools and a bunch of other goodies. So now I headed out of the city, and now it is time to pick the spot for my little settlement, and the world seems to be my medieval oyster, a moister. I decided to head west and try to reach the local lake. On the map it looks kinda cool. And while making my way there, I noticed some deer. I quickly equipped the bow and arrows I got from Derwan and blasted that deer with all my might, surprisingly landing 2 shots in a row. And while in pursuit, holy, that deer is actually bleeding and leaving traces. Hunting in this game is going to be insane, huh? And after a bit further, I found the deer. We are eating good tonight, boys. Especially that I literally have to, since I noticed there is an actual hunger, thirst and even temperature bar we have to keep in check. Otherwise I will fall on my face and die. But now I continue my travels to the lake. And hey, I have a torch, nice. I discovered that perfectly in time too, since it's getting dark and I am heading straight into a totally not dangerous forest. And after a minute or two of strolling, I arrived at the place. This is the spot I will call home from now on. Not bad, I think. I decided to start building, and for that I have a whole circular UI thingy. Convenient. I decided to start small. A simple campfire will make sure I don't starve or freeze to death right now, but for that I need sticks. Go figure. And sticks you get from small stick dispensers, scattered around the forest it seems. I placed the campfire down and cooked the freshly hunted deer that I just hunted. Freshly. And this is my little camp now, not much, but it is my own, and all totally legal since I have a permit. I decided to make some wicker baskets too, for early game storage, and that means wandering around in dark forests and picking up even more sticks. And while I was doing that, I noticed some boar in the distance, and believe me, they are pretty dangerous, you will see. And here we go, my first wicker basket. Doesn't hold much, but it definitely is a basket. So, to counter that obvious flaw, I just made a bunch more. Now I have a fire and some baskets. We're moving up in the world, I guess. Now time for my first building, a house. And not any house, but a simple small wattle house. Sounds great. I quickly picked a spot, and now, by pulling out my impressive copper hammer, I can see the outline. And the outline is asking for logs. And since we are in the forest, that shouldn't be a problem. I started chopping some unsuspecting wooden fellas, and hey, tree felling is a physics-based thing. Cool. Now we have to hit the log with an axe a bit more to gather all the sticks and whatnot, and to chop it into logs. I did this process a couple of times, and each time I was bringing the materials to the building outline gods to erect my structure. And hey, we have the foundations, so I guess there is more building, and we definitely are not sleeping tonight. I chopped more trees, and by more trees I mean more trees. I even unlocked a new building, a well, which is probably important. I continued hitting the hammer on invisible building in my head, and now I have not only the foundations but also the basic skeleton. Now of course we have to finish each wall separately. And the works were going great. More trees, more building and carrying heavy logs, and when the sun started slowly shining again, I went to the lake's shore to gather a bunch of straw for the roof, and then a bunch of hammer hits and here and there, and the house was ready for service. Even the furniture appeared out of nowhere, a chest, some beds, a medieval stove. My personal house and the first building in the village is officially done. All it took was just not sleeping at all. So I have a place to live, now we need some sustainable food source, like an orchard. So I started setting up the plot, and then a boar rushed at me from the deep forest. And I'm gonna be honest, if not for the copper arrows and my insurmountable skill, I would 100% be boar food. And that's a nasty way to go. Medieval died nasty. Anyway, I walked up to the boar I just shot to get some well-deserved meat. And hey, there is another one. So in my full-blown cockiness, I shot him when he wasn't looking. And while charging, I managed to put one arrow in between his eyes. I love this bow. I cut the boar up for later, and now I have to focus on making this damn orchard, and for that I need to cut some trees to make space. Even leveled up extraction skill while I was at it. Then I picked a copper shovel and started removing the tree stumps, since they obstruct building. And after that I could finally designate the orchard area. And done. Now I have a plot of land that I need to take care of. And as far as the plot itself tells me, it needs to be taken care of with a hoe. But all that can wait, for I have become smelly. And I know that because an icon tells me, thank God. So I went for a quick swim in the lake. No soap, just lakey water. I also happen to drink sometimes. But now back to the orchard plot. I started grubbing the ground with my copper hoe. Each square had to be done separately, and in just a few hoe swings I had a grubbed orchard field. But now I need to buy some saplings. So I decided to grab the leather and meat I got from the boars and set the course for Skauki, a village just south of my house. So I walked, and in just a mere minute I got there no problem. That wasn't that far. I walked around using my inspector mode to find a sapling seller, or some sort of a gardening merchant, I don't know. But the only thing I found was this Bluetooth butter churn. Nice. I asked the villagers where can I buy some crop type items, and as far as I understood it, they pointed me back to Piastovia. Well, I guess I might as well look for any merchant just to sell the leather and stuff I have on me. So I found a local blacksmith.
Hello there.
And, well, sold him the leather for my first hard-earned 64 coins. But that was it for Skauki, at least for now. I headed to Piastovia, and I had a devious plan. Since it's getting dark, I will try to do a little bit of thievery. Tonight, I am turning my dynasty medieval. And after a tiny bit of traveling, I got to the place. Quack. And now it is really getting dark. I decided to start my burglary spree outside the walls first, around the farming area. And as if on cue, the villagers started going back to their houses to sleep, leaving all their goodies in the open for me. I started inconspicuously sneaking into people's houses. Sleeping people usually have issues spotting non-sleeping people, so I used that fact to go through their stuff. And hey, first victim has a bucket, so I took that bucket. Then in the farming shed I found a copper sickle. Not sure what to use it for, but it is worth 120 coins. Then I almost got spotted by some random strolling farmer. I continued going house to house, and I guess I am invisible. A shadow on a wall, a silent fart in the wind. I'm like a shadow. Anyway, I decided to burglarize around within the city walls now. Ooh, we can rob the forge. I grabbed a couple of things from the local forge, including another copper hammer. And then I once again got almost spotted by a bunch of people walking out of the market. But I was standing so incredibly still that no one could spot me. I made my way into the market, but surprisingly, there wasn't a lot to loot there. A lot of stuff looked like it could be yoinked, but it was all just a ruse. Fake items in a fake market. But then I spotted a bigger fish, the house of the Castellan, or at least I think it is his house. Inside, a reinforced chest, and inside the reinforced chest, a bunch of very expensive goodies, but also 500 coins clean. Unfortunately, if my gamer senses are right, the stolen red glowing item will probably be unsellable. But hey, at least I got a free 500. I made my way out of the city, quickly making my escape into the darkness of the night. No witnesses, no sound. I managed to rob Piastovia, a victory in my book. And while running back to my single house village, I stumbled upon an old camp in the woods. There were some free items I could grab, this time legally, it seems. There was some bread and a couple of wine bottles. Someone clearly partied here. I managed to come back, and immediately after arriving I deservedly went to sleep. And in the morning, another sprint, and yet again to Piastovia. I had money now that I stole from them, and I had to spend it on saplings for my orchard. And as I was running, hey, again another randomly spawned loot. This time a bunch of iron, and some coins, and some bags, which are used for farming, which will be very important later. But now, back in Piastovia, I found a guy who sells saplings and other crop-related items, and I decided to buy 14 apple tree saplings, because I like apples. And yes, just as I thought, can't sell stolen goods to traders. So I grabbed the saplings and left. And while I was trying to find a shortcut to my house, this happened. I tried fighting back, but bow and arrow really isn't that great against a brown bear. And each hit from the beast took around half of my health. Well, that's one way to go. No more shortcuts. We are following the beaten paths from now on. Thankfully, I woke up in my house, so I guess it was sort of a shortcut after all. I did lose half the hunger, thirst and HP though, but hey, at least I have the sapling. I equipped the bag, which is the tool necessary for all the crop work, and tried figuring out how this stuff actually works by mashing all the buttons. And hey, it worked, we have the farming UI. So I started sowing the plots I grabbed a day earlier, planting one tree after another, and so on. And now I have 14 apple tree saplings slowly growing next to my house. And oh boy, I hope nothing ever happens to them. But now, to have a fully functioning village with villagers and stuff, I need to build several things. First of all, another house to, well, house the villagers that are not me. I have to build a well to provide water to drink, and I have to build both a resource storage and a food storage. So I started off with the house, because living quarters are important. I gathered some stone for foundations, then finished foundations. Then the frame, then walls, and voila, we have a house number 2. Now we really are a village, huh? And hey, I just noticed I have a couple of skill points to spend, so I opted for 5% more durable access, and 2 additional degrees of temperature tolerance. And now we're building the well, since water seems to be important for people to live. So I cut a bunch of trees to prepare some free space. And can I remove the stone? I'm not sure if I can build over the stone. So I crafted a stone pickaxe to test it out. And nope, this rocky boy is not moving anywhere. But anyway, a well is a pretty small thing to build, so I put it right next to the new house. And it didn't take long to build either. A small size means less resources needed to build. And here we go, a well with water. But I also unlocked the wood woodshed, due to my building experience going up. And this is huge. A woodshed will let me automate wood cutting when I actually have some people over here. So change of plans. Before the storages, time to build the woodshed. And hey, while I was looking for sticks for construction, I found some mineable rocks right on the lake shore. They don't give much resources, and they do deplete quite quickly, but they are here. But now back to building, and while I was going to cut some more wood, I got jump scared by the season change animation. First season change. Hey look, the trees grew a bit. I guess now I know how the time progression works in this game. And yes, the stone I dug out last season has now been replenished, meaning that season change not only pushes the game time forward, but it also respawns certain resources. Good to know. But for now I went back to cutting some trees for the woodshed, and in the distance I noticed an abandoned cart. And wow, there is clay here as well. This might actually be useful later. And in the cart, an amber figurine that sells for 750 coins. I just struck a jackpot it seems, but my excitement was interrupted by howling in the distance. Wolves. And this close to the village too. This is going to be a problem, huh? But now back to the wood chopping. And actually my copper axe I got for free is fairly used up. And there it goes. I will need some backup axes, so I made a couple of stone axes. They aren't the best, but they will do the job. And the woodshed was looking better and better. Just a little hammer smack on the roof, and here we go. And hey, I just noticed I can make little dirt roads too, so why not? And since I am clearly sidetracking to the max, why not make some fences around those lonely looking apple trees here? So I started building some simple stick fences around that area, gathering some sticks, of course. And while I was doing that, I noticed bison, and that should be an amazing source of food and leather later. And I said should, because unfortunately the bison disagreed, angrily. I never run this fast in my life, but I managed to get away. God damn, I had no idea they were this aggressive. But now back to fence building. Not the most exciting stuff, but truly medievally necessary for the vibes. And after some time, the whole orchard was encircled and looks quite nice. And then the next day came. I have a well, a woodshed, a free house, and some future food production. I think it is time to go and search for some homeless villagers looking for work. So I started making my way south to Skauki village. Of course, picking up every little thing I could find along the way. And after my arrival, I actually wasn't interested in the main village, but rather this little camp to the left. Every village has one of these, and as I understand it, this is the only place where I can recruit new villagers. Villagers who are eagerly awaiting their new homes and jobs somewhere more civilized. I went up and talked to the first guy, and hey, that was easy. No quests, no rumbling about, just straight up stood up and now is walking to my village. Cool. So I tried with another one, and no, I get it now. There is some sort of recruitment cap based on dynasty reputation. So for now, Bedghost will go alone, the first citizen of my soon-to-be empire. And while I walked beside him, I noticed that indeed the villagers have needs I must take care of. Housing, food, water and firewood. So through some menu magic, I assigned Bedghost to his newly built house. And then I did the same with the woodshed. And hey, in the woodshed menus you can actually select what is being produced and with what intensity. Cool micromanagement stuff. And yeah, doing wood stuff requires Bedghost to have a supply of axes. So I crafted a bunch of stone ones. And sure enough, Bedghost is now deployed and fully operational. And I have successfully automated woodworking. Even if it is only one additional guy for now. But now I have to make sure he has everything he needs. So I used the stolen Piastovian bucket and filled it up with water. Apparently I need to straight up put it in his house. And after that, I went and cooked 39 pieces of meat. It was just laying around since spring. Yum. And again, I put it in his chest. And yep, the hunger and thirst are no longer in the upper left corner. Now some firewood so he doesn't freeze at night, I guess. So I borrowed his woodshed for a bit and crafted some. And into his chest it goes. And yep, seems that Bedghost's mood is going up. Not sure what the benefit of that is, but it is happening. And hey, more skill points. In the survival tree I picked upgrade for my inspector mode to highlight sticks and stones and all the other goodies on the ground. But also some bonuses to get hungry and thirsty slower. And now my first villager is working as best as he can, producing a daily income of sticks and logs for me. But he has to put it somewhere, right? So time to finally build the staple of any good village, the material storage building. And this is the biggest building here yet. So as usual, I cleaned up the area from any trees, stumps and, well, shovel doesn't seem to work on that rock either. Anyway, I put that building east of the two houses I already have and started smacking it with my magical building hammer. And I'm gonna be honest, this one is really huge. It takes takes a lot of resources. Glad at least now I have some help with the wood. And of course no build is truly finished without a nightly stick run. And look, it's Bedghost going for a nightly stroll with a torch. I had no idea he has a life outside work. I need to be a better boss, I guess. Anyway, he just kind of walks around, sightseeing, kinda cool. But for me it is time to smug the storage building some more. I even started using stolen copper hammer since my old one broke. But after a while, it is done. I officially have my own resource storage hut. And the village now visibly grew quite a bit too because of that. The resource building is a great addition, since villagers can now automatically collect necessary resources and deposit finished goods here. But now back to Bedghost. I decided to assign him to making firewood as well, so he can sustain the village's needs at least a tiny bit. Okay, but now I need more villagers, and for that I need to earn that dynasty reputation thing. So I quickly read a little in-game guide, and apparently you get it from doing quests. So off to Piastovia I go, to search for work and make my dynasty more famous. And after arriving there I already could see on the Skyrim compass that some people clearly have some quests for me. Like for instance, Poznomir. And he really wants me to grow some beetroots for him. Apparently there's someone called the Beetroot Baron who buys them in bulk. And Poznomir feels left out, since all he has is onions. He gave me a little smooch and my first quest began. And hey, there's also a Witcher 3 style notice board. And the quests here seem to be seasonal and mostly random. So I took the monster contract to bring someone some logs, straw and sticks. Especially that I already have some of that on me. And all that for 50 dynasty reputation and some coin. So I broke some branches here and there for sticks, cut one tree for the logs, and basing on the distance on the compass, the person I need to deliver this to is not in Piastovia, but actually much further northwest, in a village called Klonica. The only problem being there is a red swamp area in my way, and it looks kinda dangerous, and especially at this stage of the game. And if that's not enough, the quest expires at the end of the season, which is literally in a couple of minutes. If this white arrow reaches the end, I get teleported back to my house, and I fail the quest, losing not only the rewards, but also paying in dynasty reputation, rather than gaining it. So there is quite a bit on the line here. So this is of course the best time to be distracted by an abandoned camp. This time, a bunch of copper spears, perfect for boar and whatnot, but also some coin. And honestly, I'm kind of scared of bandits, and this camp is really close to the swamp area. Is that a clue? A threat? Poachers? Well, time to enter the swamps. My new copper spears in hand for protection. And the swamps are swampy. There is some abandoned huts here and there in the distance, but I am in no shape or form going to visit them just yet. But other than that, the travel went absolutely smoothly without any problems whatsoever. I got to the other end and left by a wooden bridge. And just a minute later I got to Klonica. The village is absolutely beautiful. It really gives off those Witcher vibes for some reason. People are just living their lives. But I found my quest giver, Siabora. I gave her the resources.
So long.
And there we go, we get the rewards. Now proudly sitting at 210 dynasty reputation, so I went further down the village, searching for the homeless camp, of course. And after finding it, I recruited another villager, this time Stoisława. And just like the last time, without any remarks, she just stood up and left to my village. And she will be living in Bedghost's house. Hope they will get along. And hey, I haven't tested it yet, but I do have the improved inspector mode highlighting sticks and whatnot on the ground. Nice. And that gave me an idea. Since the season change will teleport me home anyway, I decided to stay in Klonica and gather some resources. And while it is getting dark, gathering some not so mine resources. And while I was doing that, stealing important items and whatever, I did not notice that I'm actually losing my dynasty reputation with each chest I open. Losing me more reputation than I gained from the quest itself. Oh my, I guess thievery with a torch in my hand wasn't the greatest idea, and that is probably the last time I do crime. From now on, I am reformed. I woke up in fall, and Stoisława is already here. And after looking into some menus, I just noticed that the villagers actually have skills, and the better the skill, the better they will perform at certain jobs. But for now she will have to work at the well, and produce water for the village. We have to automate the basic needs first, you know? So now I have one villager at the well, and one at the woodworking station. And hey, Bedghost actually seems to be improving the extraction skill. Nice. But now it is time to start working on the beetroot quest, since it will give us a massive 300 dynasty reputation reward. So as usual I made some space. I'm still not sure if settling in a forest is a good idea because of wood or bad because of lack of space. And hey, forests sometimes can fight back too, you know? Really? I had no idea this could actually happen. Okay, I had a suspicion that maybe it's gonna take like a bunch of HP from me, but I had no idea. I'm just gonna drop like this, Skyrim-like. After getting an acute trauma to my head, I started making the fields for the beetroots, then plowing each square like last time with a copper hoe. And hey, I unlocked a barn, nice. And a couple of seconds later, a farm shed too. I guess this starts my farmer story arc. After plowing the entire field, pulled out my bag with seeds and oh no, beetroots cannot be planted during fall. So now I am standing in the middle of my freshly made field like an idiot, so a quick task switch. We're building the food storage now. That's the next necessity on a long list of village necessities. So I quickly picked a spot next to my own house and started the usual smacking. But then I noticed that I can actually use the logs from my resource storage without them actually being in my inventory from a distance. That makes things so much easier. But that thing alone made me swap Bedgo's priority to put it a little bit more into log production. And a couple of smacks more and it is done. I have the food storage building and villagers will not go hungry if I put any food in there. And since I really wanted the village to be more village-like, I made a couple of dirt roads here and there. They are free and built instantly, but I don't think they do anything other than looking cool. Still, the village looks much nicer with them. And then, just for decoration, since I can't stay on one task for too long, of course, I made some fences, just for the cozy factor, you know? But then I noticed that our water woman is not producing any water, and I wasn't sure why. I noticed that she actually doesn't have the bucket in her inventory, so I assumed that maybe buckets are a one-time use kind of thing. So I decided to build a workshop now, to craft stuff like that automatically. We have to meet demand before supply, you know? Or the other way around, I don't know. I decided to build it next to the orchard, and thankfully the building wasn't too expensive either. I really like having logs automated thanks to Bedghost, so much less chopping wood for me. But now the workshop is erected and fully operational, and we have all the tools necessary inside. We can craft things here by hand too, like a bucket. So I borrowed Bedghost's woodshed and make a couple of planks, then went back to the workshop and crafted as many buckets as I could. Then decided to put them in the well-stored chest, or a barrel rather. And now sure enough, Stoysława is working. We are getting water now. And since the village is now looking more and more like a village, I need to look into the dynasty reputation situation. So I slowly made my way into the city in search of some easy tasks to do. And while I was walking around the city, I noticed a special icon. It was the King's Herald, giving out special tasks. I got a quest called Special Tasks. I'm supposed to help our king by giving him 250 coins for massive 200 dynasty reputation. So I talked to him again and finished the quest instantly. Amazing. I need to remember this guy, but I don't think he's guaranteed to always spawn. Anyway, now I have 330 dynasty reputation. I can recruit one more person. But first, I quickly ran to the notice board and grabbed a couple of seemingly easy tasks, like hunting 2 boars for 50 reputation or crafting a bucket for 80. Okay, so now I have a couple of quests to take care of, so I left Piastovia and made my way to my village. And still, that bear right in between the city and my village is going rampant. I need to take care of him sooner or later. He's actively making my travels not only more dangerous, but also longer. But after a slight detour, I managed to get home. I picked my copper spears and one of the buckets I crafted before. And now I need to find some new boars, since the ones next to my house are extinct. So I walked around looking for them, and since I was getting hungry, I picked up some mushrooms. And there was an absolute abundance of them here. I ate a couple of them without much of a thought, and oh, I am poisoned now. I guess I am not the best at mushroom picking, god damn. And I ate like 10 too. No checking, just shoved them up my mouth all at once. Well, it's dark, I'm poisoned and slowly losing health. Not the best situation. I did find some healing herbs, but they don't necessarily heal for a lot. So I came back the next day, and after a couple of minutes of wandering around, I actually got attacked by a boar. Oh. Nice. Not gonna lie, throwing a spear through a boar's skull does make you feel quite medieval. And there's another one too. So I did the same to that one. Cut them up all nicely, and look, hunting might be one of my favorite things in this game so far. Not only satisfying like hell, but profitable too. Look at all this meat. So I made my way back to the city, found Derwin, since it was him giving the quests out, and finished both at once. And now my reputation sits proudly at 460. So I went outside the city gates, walked up to the recruit camp, and recruited 2 more people, Meet Dobrawa and Unold. But now a slight emergency. I have 2 people coming over, and I forgot to build a house for them. So they went from homeless vagrants to homeless villagers, yikes. So I picked a spot next to the woodshed, and a couple of smacks here and there, and here it is, the 3rd house in the village. And since I have some more skill points, I bought full focus, which lets me use inspector mode without consuming stamina. But now we have water and firewood automated. Time to automate food, so it is time for a hunting lodge. I decided to put it a bit closer to the food storage building, but still close enough to the wilderness, which probably doesn't change much, but it feels right. And while I was gathering some stone for foundation, I heard growling. I guess this is the wolf pack that I saw next to the clay pits. They are way too close to my village, so I grabbed the spears and went in pursuit. Oh, there he is. I missed. Oh, it's a different one. That was the saddest wolf death ever, but it had to be done. I followed the injured one deeper into the forest, but was met with a fully healthy wolf. That means that there were 3 of them in total. And after a couple of embarrassing throws, this one is down too, now to the injured one. It actually took a moment before I spotted him. Isn't this one? But after I did, I went into a full primal hunter mode. But then, a bison decided to save his forest buddy, I guess. Oh, I got absolutely wrecked by that beast. No doubt about that, but hopefully Wolf got wrecked just enough to not come back. And now it is officially winter. I came back to the hunter's lodge, it had to be finished, especially now. Even if the trees themselves seem to run away from my axe. A couple of smacks with a hammer and the hunter hut is here. Hunters will produce meat and hopefully dry it so the villagers can actually eat it. But they do need to have a steady supply of knives. So I went to gather some sticks for them. And hey, I noticed that even when I'm just slightly cold, I'm actually losing health. Torch seems to actually fight the cold though, so that's good to know. After that I crafted a bunch of knives and put them into the hunter's chest. And yeah, they are working, even if they are looking for meat in unconventional places. But another perk of having a hunter's lodge is that here I can actually craft bows and arrows. But then I remembered, hey, I actually do have a bow, so let's use it before spending valuable resources for a new one. Then I grabbed some nearby stones and made some stone arrows for it. They aren't the best, but they have to do for now. Why do you ask? Well, I need to hunt for some leather and animal products to sell, since I need to buy myself some winter clothes. So I hunted some animals, rabbits and whatnot. And after getting to the city, I sold whatever I could, including the amber figurine. Then I went to the clothes merchant and bought myself some of the winter clothes they were selling. I didn't manage to buy all of them for each slot, but this will have to do. Now not only I am prepared to work during winter, I also look absolutely fabulous. And since now I don't have to hold the torch all the time for warmth, I can actually hunt without losing health. And honestly, hunting right outside of Piastovia during a wintry night was absolutely pure vibes. I got a couple of rabbits and even managed to one-shot a badger. But the real game was still eluding me, at least until I saw the deer in the distance. So I aimed and released the arrow right into the deer's head. And after a short chase, I managed to send another one, and it fell. I honestly love hunting in this game. It's just so relaxing, for me, not the deer. And you know what? The winter nights are really bright. It's so easy to spot game as well. So I hunted one more deer, or rather a stag, well, just because I can. And then I came back to my village, bringing some fur and leather, but also single-handedly feeding the whole village with meat. And next day I decided to build another woodshed. I need a constant supply of wood to build as much stuff as possible. So I gathered some materials and smacked the thing into existence. And I decided to reassign one of the hunters to work here. Wood seems a bit more important, especially that most of the hunting is done by me anyway. And hey, the skills do matter. A level 3 woodcutter clearly brings many more logs than even a level 2. And since I still had some time until sundown, I decided to do some fishing. So I crafted some wooden spears and went out into the world in search of pike, since that fish really sells for a lot considering how easy it is to catch. And one pike respawn I know about is just northwest of Piastovia. So of course I moved my medieval butt right right to that spot, safely submerged myself in ice-cold water during winter, and smacked some pike with a wooden stick, fishing. And just from that one spot, I got 5 of them. And while I was walking around the river to find some more pike, I found something similar, a European bison. So since at this point in the game I consider myself a master hunter, I shot at this endgame beast using the worst arrows in the game. My tactic was to shoot at him, and whenever he wanted to retaliate, run away. And after a couple of minutes of shooting and running away, I managed to send the last killer arrow flying. The bison was mine. I skinned him and goddamn, that's a lot of meat. But instead of bringing it to my villagers, I decided to cook it and sell it in Piastovia. And now I have to run a couple of 100 meters back to the city, while absolutely over-encumbered with bison meat. I managed to get to the city and sold both the leather and the meat for a total of around 300 coins. I left the city happy with my hunting. But wait, what about the fish? Of course I forgot to cook it, so I had to do it outside the city, netting me 35 pieces of cooked fish. But then instead of selling the fish, I got distracted yet again. I saw some abandoned houses in the distance. Of course I need to check them out, they're like right there. So I pulled out my trusty torch and bravely walked up to the ruins. And after a quick search, I actually found some loot here. I had no idea Medieval Dynasty had this sort of thing. In the first building, apart from a copper axe, I also found some healing potions, some beer, and 100 coins. Then I proceeded to the second building, and here I found a chest with another 72 coins. Well, I guess now I know that there are ruins worth searching in this land, and I will keep that in mind. Now I started running back to the city, until a pop-up in the top left told me I found another pike spot. I cannot not get distracted by that. So during a cold wintry night I submerged myself yet again in ice-cold water, in search of arbitrarily expensive fish. But despite me doing a whole search operation, even using my inspector mode, I could not see any fish here. I absolutely could not find them. I came back to the city, and since it's too late for merchants, I decided to pick up some additional quests from the notice board. This time their one wants 9 stone knives, to hunt 2 boars again, and to hunt 9 pigeons. Weird, but alright. I came back to my village and immediately started working on them quests. A night does not have to go to waste. Since I first need those 2 knives, I gathered some sticks, some stones, and crafted the 9 knives in a matter of minutes. Simple enough. Now the pigeon quest. I equipped bow and my stone arrows and went searching for pigeons, which I know I saw around other villages. I decided to head to Skałki. Even though we got the pigeon quest from Darwan in Piastovia, Skałki's pigeons should count, I think. And sure enough, most of them flying high in the sky, but some of them just walking. And so I aimed with all my skill, and I missed. How did I miss? But it's okay, cause with the second shot I did manage to get one. And sure enough, they do count towards the quest. So I sat here shooting pigeons like some sort of maniac. How is that even humanly possible that I missed? And then hit that, okay. And after shooting the last one, quest is complete. I also got some pigeon meat, some cabbage, and I can start selling it to Polish people. Now the real deal, hunt 2 boars, again. So I went home, crafted a bunch of spears, and then I went out into the wilderness. It actually didn't take long to find them though, but that wasn't the tricky part to begin with. I prepared for the throw of my lifetime, and I missed. Then threw again, and missed. But after a while of fighting, I managed to get them both. And hey, my hunter actually sensed my great hunt and came to help. How nice. I actually had no idea they actually walk around and gather stuff. I thought these were just animations. Well, kinda cool. But while I was focusing on my villager, I got jumped by a 3rd boar. Ouch. After respawning, I went back to Piastovia to give that quest back. First, Markuslav and his pigeons, weirdo, and Darwan and his knives and boars. And now I have 610 dynasty reputation, so I went to the settler camp and recruited more people. And no way, I can actually see the recruit stats if I look at them in the inspector mode. I had no idea, how did I not know this? So this time I picked my settlers based on stats. Miroslav because he's good at excavation, and Bolibor because he's gonna make a good hunter. Recruiting villagers will make more sense now. I had no idea I can see their stats before recruiting them. Well, what can I say? and officially we are in the year 2. And that's the perfect moment to build another house, you know, for the villagers who patiently waited for the season to change, I guess. So after a moment of holding left click, here it is in all its glory. And hey, the village actually looks kinda cool on the map now too. But now I have a problem. In the village I have 2 women and 4 dudes. And the problem being, 2 dudes cannot live in the same house, meaning that either I have to build an additional house just for one guy, or the option B for banish him into the abyss, because it's easier than having an unhappy homeless guy wandering around here. But now, since I have some trading to do, I decided to make my way to Piastovia. But while I was on the road, this happened. Wait, what?
What's wrong?
Bandits. I immediately got shot with a crossbow to the chest, but retaliated with a stone arrow of my own. And then another one. Now to the next guy. His plan of running at me straight with a knife did not work very well. An arrow to the face will do that to you, you know? Oh my god, okay, I did not expect that. But hey, I have a wooden crossbow now, I guess. Perfect for shooting pigeons, I suppose. And eagles. I got to the city and sold some loot, bringing me to about 940 coins total. Then I walked up to the crop merchant to buy some fertilizer for the beetroots I plan to finally plant, but also some linen threads, because they are necessary for a bunch of stuff, including bows. And since I'm in the city, I picked up some more quests, like make some wicker baskets, kill some pigeons again, or bring some materials to a person far, far away. And hey, since medieval people clearly hate pigeons so much, I decided to use my new crossbow on them. And honestly, the crossbow is actually quite fun. Needs some getting used to, but hits the pigeons like a medieval equivalent of a truck. And hey, some pigeons even made it much easier by getting stuck in walls. How thoughtful. I killed the last one and gave the quest back to Markuslav for 60 reputation. And yeah, I wanted to recruit somebody immediately, but there are only men here. I still need one woman to fill up the last house and not feel like I wasted resources. So I came back to my village, took out some fertilizer, more commonly known as animal poop, and threw it on the ground to fertilize my soon-to-be planted crops. And after all that, I finally can plant the forsaken beetroots for the guy I took that beetroot quest from like a year ago. So actually I have to plow this field now. Okay, now I'm doing the beetroot stuff. And now I have a quarter of a field of beetroots. Hey, it's not impressive, but it is mine. Let's not be wasteful. I still have so much field here. So I went back to the city, sold my winter clothes, which might be a dumb idea, but bear with me. And then I bought some flax seeds, onion seeds, and a bunch more fertilizer. And a few new bags. We are going farming. I came back and immediately started throwing poop on the ground. And hey, I actually physically am dirty from all that work. Quick shower then, I guess. And then quickly back to work. And now plowing the fertilized fields. And I already grinded through the durability on my copper hoe, so I quickly crafted a wooden one. Then I started planting all the different seeds I bought. Next season is going to be huge. And now we have a field full of different crops. That's going to be very useful, especially when I get a couple of NPC farmers working this field. And since soon I will have some more advanced foods, let's build a kitchen. Just to see what we can craft, or cook rather. So I picked a spot next to the field itself, and after just a few moments I had a whole kitchen building ready for action. And yep, now we have access to a couple more fun foods. Maybe I'll be able to sell some of that and become Piastovia's Gordon Ramsay. And hey, more roads. I can't get enough of them. I added them here and there to make this place look even more lived in. Because what? Medieval people don't deserve roads? Of course they do. And as per tradition, I also added a bunch of fences for the aesthetics. Threw in a couple of wicker baskets here and there for decoration. And guess what? Built some more fences around them. I will be known as the Fence Lord, I guess. And hey, it actually is all coming together, even if the village is still very small. And then I spent some more skill points. The most important being the 25% chance to get more crops from a field. Then I made my way to Skauki in search for a female villager. And sure enough, while Piastovia seems like a sausage party right now, Skauki has actually some recruitable women. So I put her to work in the kitchen. I swear that was not on purpose. She's gonna be roasting meat. Hunters get meat, and she's gonna be roasting it. Automation. Then I absolutely booked it to Piastovia again. I finally sold those fish I wanted to sell days ago, and for quite a bit of a sum as well. But more importantly, I bought some oat grain to plant in my new farming village district. I need them for some low-tier kitchen recipes, which then I can sell and become immensely rich. At least, that's the plan. But then I run into a problem. I apparently need to pay taxes, and the deadline for that like this until the end of spring, which is in a couple of in-game hours. But the biggest problem of all is I just spent all my money on oats. So I quickly made some space, quickly created a new field, quickly plowed the field, quickly put some pepperonis on it, and quickly plowed it again. Now all I had to do was, you guessed it, quickly throw some oat grains on top of all of that, and there you go, farming. Then I went to my storage building and grabbed whatever was most valuable and not absolutely necessary for right now, and then absolutely sprinted it out towards the city, hoping that I will be maybe able to pay those goddamn taxes. So I panic sold some copper equipment, leather, fur and a whole bunch of other things. Then straight to Mirogod, who, apart from being a total dick, is also a taxman of Piastovia, I guess. And hey, it's paid off. I am free of debt. No one is going after me, freaking IRS. I decided to spend the rest of the night at the local tavern. Not that I have any money to spend here, but at least the music is nice. Or at least it would be if I had it enabled. Anyway, it's nice to pay taxes sometimes, I guess. It is summer now, and my crops literally grew overnight. So I started gathering them and oh, 16 onions per one little square. Are we onion rich or what? And hey, flax is also ready. And look at that cutting mechanic, nice. Soon we'll be able to make clothes out of this. And the beetroot doesn't seem to have grown yet. I guess it takes 2 seasons. And same with oats. They also will be harvestable only the next season, in fall. But hey, the apple trees are finally fully grown and they have apples on them. In total, the harvest this season has brought us actually so much produce. 174 apples, almost 300 onions. I immediately went to the kitchen to mess around and see what dishes I can now make. And look at that, meat with gravy. But it does require a couple of things I don't really have. So first I went to the workshop to craft some wooden plates, the schematic for which I had to buy from the workshop gods. Then I crafted a bunch of wooden spears and hunted myself some boar, then roasted them on the kitchen fire, and now ladies and gentlemen, I am making 50 meats with gravy. Hope they will sell well. According to the inventory, they should be selling for around 20 coins each. So now, with an inventory completely overburdened with meat and gravy, I made my way to the city, very slowly, and sold my Gordon Ramsay grade fast food for, well, barely 575 coins actually. That's disappointing. But hey, I can always hunt some fish, so go fishing. But hey, is that a bandit just standing there? Well, no, it's actually not. It's the Beetroot Baron, one of the villagers from the city mentioned. And he sells, yeah, only beetroot stuff. Okay. I mean, I respect this, but I am a bit confused. And while I initially thought the beetroot guy was a bandit, now actual bandits attacked me. Arrows and bolts flying inches from my head. But hey, they aren't actually that scary if you have the right strategy. I'm gonna throw sticks at him until he doesn't move. Give it back. Another one. I'm a medieval John Wick. Don't mess with me or I will vandalize you. But now back to my fishies, I got some pike again. So I ignited my little campfire in the woods, and this time I did not forget to cook them for 2 seasons. And now to selling. And oh damn, 532 coins just for like 5 fish. God damn, it's so lucrative to be a fisherman around these parts, huh? But now, since I got that nice crossbow from those bandits, I used it for hunting game. Nights are especially good for that, since there isn't much else to do at this stage of the game. And while meat is nice and tasty, leather can later be used for some more intricate thing, like clothes and stuff. And hey, I even got attacked by a random boar. I don't have a knife. What the fuck? No, come on, bro. Really? No. So I cheesed him a bit by shooting him while being on a bridge. Yeah, that's what you get. He almost killed me. Next morning I decided that the next logical step in my farming life is a barn, a place where I can process all the oats and flax that grow in my village. But apart from that, barn is necessary for a lot of other things. It's the first link in a chain of producing our own fertilizer, so I don't have to buy it from the town all the time. And honestly, what kind of village would we be if we didn't have a barn? And hey look, it can turn the raw flax into flax stalks, first step in basic cloth making. And now we we have 194 flax stalks. So what now, you might ask? Well, now the sewing hut. So a couple of smacks with my magical hammer here and there, and now poof, we have a beautiful 5-star sewing hut. And in the workbench inside we have a lot of options for clothes and armor, but also we can turn raw resources into actual cloth. So I started making some linen threads from the flax we just processed at the barn, and then I turned the linen threads into linen fabric, and then at the sewing station I bought the schematic for a simple hood, which in my opinion is rather cheap to make, but also expensive enough to sell with profit. So I made 15 of them, and hey, workshop numero 2 is unlocked. Cool. But even cooler is that now I have 15 simple hoods that sell for around 300 coins each. So I went back to the city, sold 6 of the hoods for 960, and then the rest for 1440 coins. This was the first time I had to sell to 2 different merchants, since one didn't have enough money to buy all the stuff from me. Feels pretty good. I have 3322 coins to my name, and I definitely don't look like it. So I spent some of that on a backpack so I don't have to get over encumbered so fast, but more importantly spent some on a nice stylish hat. I went out from the city to check out the ruins I already checked before, in hopes that loot maybe, just maybe, respawns. But apart from some beer, which is pretty cool, don't get me wrong, nothing really respawned as far as I could see. So I went up to the local wagoner for the first time ever, and in all my richness I spent some of my hard-earned money on fast travel. And the destination was Skauki, since I noticed that most villages seem to have some more sophisticated and lucrative quests when you actually speak to the people.
How do you do?
So I talked to Himislav, and his issue being that despite being born a miner, he wants to become a wooder. So he asked me to bring him some logs and planks. So I went to my village, and hey, I'm not gonna lie, the backpack is actually super useful. I'm carrying a bunch of logs and planks, and I'm only slightly over encumbered. Progress is golden. So I went back to Himislav and his wife Shislav and brought the timber he asked me for. But you give somebody an inch and they will take a mile. He wants even more things from me now. In more detail, he wants some woodworking tools, and he gave me some old stinky ones to trade for the new ones from Tolislava in Piastovia. So, since I'm filthy rich, I used the local Uber again, talked to Tolislava, and got the tools. I gave them to Himislav, and this time the quest is finished.
You're barely standing.
And hey, at Skauki homeless camp I found Alruna, and she's pretty good at farming. And Dagobert, he's not good at anything useful, but I'm desperate. Next morning I finally started assigning settlers to their best suited jobs based on their skills. So now the correct people for the jobs should be doing said jobs. Then I built a new house for the 2 new settlers, and since they are somewhat skilled in farming, their house is right next to the oats field. And since I have some money now, I spent some of it on village decorations. And yes, it's not only for me, the villagers actually care about stuff like this. So I put a bunch of benches everywhere, some barrels, and during all this decoration spree I finally learned that right-clicking on a wall with a hammer lets you decorate the wall, and villagers freaking love decorations, and their moods depend on them somewhat. So I built a bunch of coat hangers, wooden buttons. Hey, it's important they like it, okay? Couldn't be a decoration spree without a zillion cheap stick fences. And hey, why not make a path going through my orchard to connect the fields and the granary? I wonder if I can delete just a tiny bit of... Oh. I just wanted... Yeah, so I just one-tap deleted my fully grown apple orchard. So I guess I will never make an apple pie or play flute ever again. So instead I created a pathway right through the old bygone orchard. And now it kind of looks like the main square of the village or something. I sure hope it looks nice given the price I just paid. But now I continued making more fences, just a slightly tad bit sadder. And now I decided to actually make another orchard, but this time alongside the main road here. It's not gonna be as big, but it's supposed to be more of a nice decoration, I think. And oh my dear farm gods, the oats are finally grown. And lo and behold, the beetroots are ready also. So I started with them, and then promptly cut the entire field of oats by myself, cause none of my villagers ever helped me. And now we have a staggering amount of oats, 251 to be exact. Not to mention all the 181 beetroots. although some of them will go for that beetroot quest I got a year ago. And since that beetroot business takes the precedence, I beelined it straight to the city. Then talked to Poznomir, and oh no, this is one of them multitask quests. I didn't even get a reward for bringing the beetroots, this scammer. He wanted me to help him with the rhymes, so that people notice his shop more, and since they do call me the medieval Eminem for nothing, I did my best. And now, still no rewards for the beetroots, and also we have to wait till next season. Is that even legal? Then I went up to the King's Herald, since he appeared in the city this season, and asked him if I can officially name my village. But all he said is that King barely knows me. So I took a quest from this guy instead, to maybe soften up the king, so he actually lets me name my own village, and apparently we need to deliver oat grain and rye grain for the king. Oats are not a problem, but I did end up buying some rye grain to plant later. And hey, the iron and bugs thingy respawned, so those little POI structures do actually respawn sometimes. Good to know. And hey, I can plant rye. I was actually worried that maybe it's the wrong season for this plant. I'm still having PTSD issues after this beetroot fiasco. And after a moment, the field was all done, with rye in it and all. Now we wait. And by wait I mean slamming the oat grain in the barn to make some grain for the king, of course. And hey, 490 oat grain is pretty good, no? I think? I don't know, I'm not a grain expert. And you know what? I decided that the field looks a bit empty like that, so I started building a little low fence around it. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, fences. And you know what? To hell with it, I might as well build a farm shed. That will let me actually employ some villagers to automate the fields, so I don't have to throw poop on the ground so much. So shlamalama ding dong, and it's done. We have a farm shed right next to the newest house I also built quite recently. Nice. And of course I also made a couple of hoes, sickles and such for the future farmers to have. And the first farmer is assigned, and he is cleaning the shed, I guess. I don't know. And oh, there's a whole field automation menu thingy. So after a really short session on YouTube tutorials, I figured this thing all by myself. So I set it up so that the oats are sown during spring, cabbage during summer, even though I don't have any cabbage yet, but you know, and flax during fall. All of that automated and done by my one singular farmer villager guy. But Unold is already complaining about lack of fertilizer, and gave him tools, forgot about the poop stuff. So I went to the workshop and made some buckets for selling. I know, random, but why not grind some of that production XP, and went and sold it in the city.
Oh, it's you again.
And quickly bought some fertilizer. And next morning, Unold is already hard at work, or soft at work, I don't know, I didn't check. But I did cut some trees behind the field though, to make some room for a storage building, to extend the resource building range. And as you probably remember, this is a hell of a building even with resources I have now, especially when the trees are still trying to escape me. I don't care, I didn't wanna cut you either. But after some good smacks, I did manage to finish it, and here it is in its full glory. And that of course brings me to building more fences for decoration. But there's one problem. Building all those fences made me forget about one important thing. Woman. This game is called Medieval Dynasty and not Medieval Die Alone, and I am yet to find myself a suitable partner. I decided to try Zbysława. She might be a little bit weird, but she has to do.
Hello.
It's a small village, you know. So I asked her what her biggest dream is, and she, as a 27-year-old woman, said she never wants to grow up, and being boring should be punishable by being stricken by a lightning. Alright. I'm having second thoughts, but I did get her affection to 17%. Next season I am finally, hopefully able to finish Poznomir's Beetroot Saga, and while going to the city I noticed some weird camp structure that appeared right next to my village, overseeing the valley here, bandits. And right next to them a not so bandit camp, with just a guy enjoying his mead, or tea, I don't know. His name is Alwyn, and after asking him if he needs any help, he mentioned a guy named Rasimir, and that he changed his life. This is some deep lore that I do not understand, but I am guessing that this might have to do something with the main storyline of the other map in Medieval Dynasty. Not sure though. He asked me for 20 stone arrows, which I did happen to have, and left on his merry way. Kind of hoped I could recruit him or something, anything, but hey, all that glitters is not gold or something like that. He did leave his recurve bow, which happens to be much better than anything I have right now. So that's the best time to throw myself into the fires of combat and clear this weird bandit outpost right next to my village. I actually really like the ranged combat in this game. Shooting arrows into people's backs feels pretty rewarding. What doesn't feel rewarding is bandits shooting through cloth of their tent. Ouch. But since my spawn is close, he got what he deserved. That bastard. And after all that killing, I got to looting. And apart from a bit of this and a bit of that, I did get bronze bracers, my first piece of armor ever. But also some other valuables, like this silk shawl worth 750 coins. And that's it for the bandit outpost. Nice. And look at them bracers, I am sure as heck braced now. So now I started my wintry travel to the city, slightly interrupted by a random wolf jump scare. Oh shit. But overall I got there. Poznomir told me that the rhymes he put together actually worked and his business is doing good. And that concludes that. I waited till winter for him to tell me rhymes are good for advertising. But at least now I have almost 1400 dynasty reputation. And that of course means a couple of new faces around the village now. Look at them go. And as always I recruit and forget they need homes. So, homemaking. And next morning I have two new beautiful houses. One made from logs instead of sticks, mind you, improvements. And just in time too, since they did start to get a tiny little bit pissed about this whole winter with no home thing. And hey, with so many villagers, the village actually feels more villagey right now. So many mouths to feed and not so many hunters, so I decided to drop a couple of local bisons myself. I managed to get the first one more or less without problems, but the second one... Yeah, after all that I cooked them, and now we shouldn't be starving in the village for a while. But now let's kick the village's production up a notch. And that means a smithy for automated tool making. But apart from the smithy, let's automate stone production with an excavation shed. And an additional wood shed is not going to hurt either. And hey, we have two people with level 3 excavation, so perfectly in line with the excavation shed. So I put it next to the two new houses. And hey, I didn't even plan it, but the village is actually starting to develop two distinct sectors here. The food production district right over here with the fields, granary and the kitchen. And up north, the production district with woodsheds, workshops and living quarters. I didn't really plan this, but it came out like this organically, I guess. And after a moment I finished up the excavation shed, of course here in the production district. And yep, the villagers assigned here can produce not only stone, but also stuff like clay or copper ore, will be handy. And in the evening I made some space behind the storage building for the smithy. That will be one of the most important buildings soon. And listen, we made a massive progress from the times when we just had about one building here. I really like the vibe of this place now. I especially have to lean into the district thing, I think, making the production one feel more industrial and all. But now a couple of whacks with the magic wooden hammer and here we go. A smithy. This thing will kick off an actual industrial revolution up in this village. Not only does it look cool and automates tool production, but also lets us access some endgame stuff, like making ingots, crossbows or even armors of various qualities. Nice. And now, since it's the last day of winter and my villagers are gathering materials automatically, I felt like it was the right time to go and explore the world a bit. And immediately, right next to my village, a destroyed cart with a nice sum of 180 coins in it. I continued my stroll further north, and hey, the map from this perspective is indeed actually pretty insanely huge. God damn. Animals just walking around, wintry forest stretching as far as I can see. 0% phone, just 100% medieval vibes. But then in the distance I noticed a cave, and that's exactly why I went out on this exploration expedition. This is what I have been made for. So I walked up to it and indeed there is a hole in a mountain. And hey, it's just a cave with resources in it. Copper, iron, tin, everything I might ever need. And just a walk north from my village too. I decided to dig a bunch of copper then, because why not? Will definitely come in useful since, you know, I literally just built a smithy for like this exact reason. And after a while of digging I ended up with 44 raw copper ores to smelt. Nice. Came out of the cave slowly, but victorious. I came back to the village and fired up the forge for the first time. Time to make some copper ingots. And on the anvil I made 2 copper axes and 2 copper hammers. And now I have harnessed copper for the first time. After all that heavy labor, I decided to pay a visit to my future wife's Biswava. Never mind, she said I stink. Fair enough. So I took a bath and came back to do some flirting. I decided to give her a little bottle of perfumes I stole from somewhere. She seemed happy, although she did call this present free goods. I ultimately ended my advances at 29 affection. We are slowly getting there. So I went to sleep for now, and that was when I got a random nightly decision to make. A rat stole some of my coins, and I got to decide what to do with them. So I freaking killed him with my bare hands. Freaking Skaven. In the morning I crafted some sickles and started gathering my now ready rye. And hey, holy, my villager is actually gathering the fields for me. The automation works. Nice. And it's actually satisfying to look at this too. He's just slowly doing his medieval villager job. After that I made some rye grain and made my way to Piastovia to King's Herald. And here we go. I gave the rye to the king, but that still wasn't enough. King barely knows me. I'm starting to think King is actually using me. I mean the king's friend zone. But hey, at least we have more dynasty reputation. But despite all that, I decided to hold off with recruiting new villagers for now. The ones I have are enough trouble for now. Let's make sure the ones recruited are happy first. And hey, another abandoned camp. And a fishing spear. Guess it catches fishies with a nice animation, but I'm not really sure what the difference between this and a spear is. I decided to continue my exploration north from the city, and that means it is finally time to go and see what's up with all this swamp stuff. And sure enough, after a minute of walking, it got really swampy. A couple of seconds later, I noticed my first abandoned building here, and in the shed I found a chest with a bronze knife with 100% condition. Not bad, not great either. So I tried moving on to the main hut here, but the entrance was guarded by an elk. And hey, I unlocked the donkey shelter. It didn't really do anything to unlock it, so I guess villagers doing their work actually do give me experience from afar, I think. And the donkey shelter will provide me with an actual rideable donkey, so it might be worth building sooner than later. After that I found another entrance to the hut, and there it was, 22 coins. Nice. I kept on exploring, drawn to this clearly Witcher-like tree over there, and right behind it, a gift basket? Huh, not sure what it was, but it did give me some nice clothes, I guess. And expensive too, goddamn. Soon after that I noticed a guy knee-deep in water, screaming like a madman at a bird. I talked to him for a bit, and yeah, he does seem a bit crazy in the head. And apparently he is some sort of a potion maker or something. And hey, this house here is not abandoned, it is his house, okay? My guy is just living in the swamps, eating apples and talking to himself. I searched some of his sheds and stuff, but I didn't really steal anything. I didn't want to. My man is a bit unstable, you know? So I went on with my journey, and of course no more than a couple of seconds later I noticed another abandoned camp. Or at least it looked abandoned from a distance, but there is actually 2 people here. A girl and a wounded woman. Both told me to leave. I did steal a longbow that was just lying here, so hey, not so bad. And a longbow is actually even better than the recurve bow, so there is that. An upgrade. And hey, that seemed to be it for the swamps. A couple of ruined buildings, a crazy man, and a wounded woman with a rude child. Not what I expected, but still pretty cool. So I came back home and went to sleep. Enough of slacking around. Next morning I decided to build this donkey shelter thingy. I really need to have a ride instead of walking everywhere. So as per usual, I cut some trees and made some space in the food district. Put some roads so it feels more natural, and then put it next to a new road. Made some planks because the building required some, and bam, a donkey shelter. If it looks like a donkey shelter, smells like a... whatever. In other words, I have a donkey shelter, now I need a donkey to shelter. So I made some copper hammers to sell, and went on my way to to Skauki, because I think this is where the animal trader is. And sure enough, this is the donkey breeder. Although I didn't see the option to buy one anywhere in her dialogue window, so I went to the Skauki donkey shelter to totally not steal one. And hey, this is actually how you buy them, so I guess we are doing it legally after all. I chose his new home, and he donkey ported out of Skauki instantly, he's fast. Then I sold some axes and hammers and bought myself a saddle, because believe it or not, I cannot sit on the donkey without a saddle. But even after all that, I still didn't have enough money to buy it. So I went home and made 34 water skins from leather. And hey, the donkey is already complaining about the food quality around here, or rather the lack of food. I tried talking to him or something, but I had no clue how to feed him. So I read some in-game guides, and apparently I need animal feed. Who would have guessed? And yeah, sure enough, in the barn I can actually make animal feed, and I even have all the ingredients. So I made 37 of it, and then put some of it in the donkey's feeding rack. Nice. Then I went yet again to Skauki to sell the water skins and buy the damn saddle. And sure enough, now I do have the money. Otherwise I would be a bit sad. Oh. Next morning my donkey was dead. Well, okay, not really, he was sleeping. So I put a saddle on him, and wow, there is a saddle on my donkey now. I am able to now ride wherever and however I want. Me and my donkey, donkey and me. We will be friends, and he will help me transport materials and my own buttocks to different places faster. And since I haven't shown skill level ups in a while, here we go, since that one is important. Village Whistleblower perk will let me call on my donkey from wherever Kingdom Come Deliverance style. And after all that donkey stuff, time to get to my second most important character, my future wife. And after a couple of straight up banger one-liners, I managed to get her affection to 42. And I forgot to pay taxes again, so I crafted a bunch of stone pickaxes and rode my donkey super fast straight to Skauki mine, mined copper deposits until I couldn't walk anymore, and got on my donkey to get back. Huh? And after embarrassing myself in front of all my peasants by face-planting into a field, I went on to make some copper tools to sell. Then another ride straight to the city. And honestly, this donkey already feels like an integral part of this playthrough. How was I running this much? I sold the axes and paid my taxes. No, actually, I was off by like 20 coins, so I sold my pants. I went back home and decided that it is time to build some more houses and then recruit people. What a switcheroo. This time though, I will build one of them bigger houses, a simple wooden house for 4 people. And after this day full of work, I went to sleep. And apparently a traveling merchant visited my village. But since I really didn't have any money on me, I had to politely decline his offer of teaching me haggling. Those damn taxes. It is a beautiful summer morning, and it is the first time one of my own villagers has a quest for me. That's interesting. Nothing too complicated though, he just wanted to ask for a bottle of cherry wine. And hey, I just so happen I have cherry wine from one of those bandit camps, I think, and it was literally in the wicker basket right under this guy's nose. And here we go, my villagers are pretty simple people, huh? But I needed more of them, so I created another dirt road to have some space for building more homes. And then I connected them to the nearby main road. And now to the building we go, straight up 3 homes at once, why not? But first I need to finish up some labor stuff, since my farmer villager is lacking bugs to actually do anything. And hey, since I have flax, I might as well finish up the building a bit later and focus for a bit on this farmer issue. So I sat down in the sewing hut and worked my Medieval Dynasty cheeks off to make some materials, so that I can start producing bags, but I still need leather. So I went back to the city on my trusty steed and sold whatever I could, including my rich coat. Now I might be naked yet again, but at least I have some money to my name. And since I'm here, of course I recruited one more villager.
Hello?
Because why not? And now with the money I just earned, I bought schematic for copper arrows, a huge improvement over the stone ones. So I went to hunt some game for leather and fur. And after that, now I have enough to actually make the damn bags. Now my farmer will probably work, hopefully. And now in the evening I decided to finish up those 3 houses I was building in the morning and finally expand the village north. And since I have some perks to spend, I decided to go with the stuff that helps me secure my lady. So now I will get more affection points, but also see personality archetypes of people so that I can pick my dialogue options better during flirting. And next morning I put those new skills to use and got the affection of Zbysława to 52%. Oh, and apparently her personality type is free spirit, not no idea. And now I walked up to the smithy and assigned Edburga, who is a level 3 smith here for automation. Finally, she will produce all kinds of stone tools so that my villagers work even more optimally and without as much of my input. Someone has to work more so that I can work less. Nice. And now back to my houses. 2 of them are already finished, but the third one is just outside the range of the storage unit. So unfortunately I have to carry all the logs manually. Unlucky. And now a couple more hits with a hammer and we have finished the third new house in the district. Now I actually have some space for new villagers to move in. So I went to Skauki to recruit some. And while I was on my way, I noticed some dude swinging a sword at nothing. Another special NPC, I guess. Very special. And I guess his horse is hungry, because what he wants is animal feed. Alright, but first I went to the homeless encampment and recruited a couple of new faces. But hey, I actually could only recruit 2 people. Apparently, after a certain threshold, the dynasty reputation cost per recruitment is going up. Which means my 1800 dynasty reputation no longer means 18 villagers. After that I bought some animal feed for that weirdo on the road while we're in Skauki. Since, you know, I still somewhat hope that some of those special NPCs we find in the world are recruitable. But after giving him the feed, he just kind of continued swinging around, nothing more. No recruitment, max sadness, oh well. So next morning I went to the city to do even more trading, and after selling all the things I made the previous day I ended up with 3,770 coins. Nice. And since I'm a romantic at heart, I decided to buy a little present for whatever her name was. And I decided that you can never go wrong with an ember necklace. And since I'm here, to hell with it, I'm buying the damn cabbage finally to plant. Why not? I came back home and started looking for my woman. I found her at her workplace, the old woodshed, and gave her the necklace. Nice, 55% affection. It is slow, but love takes time, you know? But she's worth it. Look at her working that wood. And hey, the guy is planting the cabbages. Nice. I don't even have to do anything anymore, I guess. So to help with the farming automation even more, I decided that it is time to start making my own fertilizer. And for that, I will need a pigsty. So I put it right next to the farming storage unit. Bim bam boom, and it's here. So I put some animal feed in the trough for the future pigs. And since I don't have any, I went on my way to buy some. To Klonica, because that's where they are selling them apparently. So I began my travels well and with no issues. And hey, yet another abandoned house on my way, why not go and loot it? I got some coins in one barrel or another, but the most valuable thing I found was this silk shawl, the hidden 200 coins lying behind a broken wardrobe, and the hidden 100 coins lying in the leaves here. Nice. And now continuing to Klonica. Even water wasn't an obstacle to my trusty donkey steed, and after arriving in the village, I started asking people where to buy the pigs, with rather mixed results. But after a moment of walking here and there, I managed to find them. I decided to purchase 1 male, 1 female, and 1 piglet, an entire Peppa Pig family. And of course no adventure is ever completed without recruiting some homeless people to my village. Wish I could save them all, but well, I don't have enough reputation. I woke up in this beautiful fall morning to a whole field of cabbages ready to harvest. And hey, my pigs are here too. Amazing! Now I can turn their poop into fertilizer so I don't have to spend thousands on it anymore. And I decided that today is the day when I need to start finally improving the moods of my people. Not sure what it actually does or if it even improves their performance at work, but I decided to do it anyway. Because while the village is still growing and looks rather good, the insides of the homes of its villagers are rather boring. And villagers in Medieval Dynasty don't like boring houses. But to buy schematics for nice shelves and stuff for their homes, I also need money. So as always, I sat down in the sewing hut and made a bunch of bags and simple hoods for trade. And after witnessing a man outdo Michael Jackson, I began selling all the goods I had. And I also bought myself a slightly better hat, because coming back home in a hat is always better than coming back home without a hat, and I'm willing to die on that hill. And since I didn't want to waste precious flirting cooldown, I decided to hit on Bisława once more to improve our affection. But then... Are you kidding me? She got married. I spent thousands After spending months dating a woman, spending hundreds of coins on her, she got married to someone else. I will remember that next time during food rationing. So now with the money I bought the schematics for shelves and stuff, and began my charity work on improving people's homes, apart from Zbysława's home. But apart from putting a billion shelves in each house, I also put a bunch of little flower pots around, although you can only put them outside for some reason. And hey, I think the moods are actually improving. I think, probably, thanks to those shelves. But then I noticed that being a mother is a separate job thingy, meaning that mothers in my village stop any production and tend to their babies 24/7. I feel like that might become a problem later down the line, but the rest of the day was rather chill. I spent some time finally fishing in our lake and then cooking the fish meat on the fire in my own house before going to bed rather early. Next morning I decided to flirt with Olga, the local stone excavator. I gave her the silk shawl I found in an abandoned building close to Klonica as a greeting gift, and after a couple of smartly chosen flirting options we ended up on 20% affection in one day. A pretty successful first date. I guess now I have to work faster before someone marries her too. And apart from that I decided to build even more fences, but hey, now an improved plank version. And they look not too shabby, you know? And while I was doing this, I accidentally swapped my hammers mode to repair mode, and noticed that most, if not all buildings can be repaired. But no matter how many times I hit the walls with a hammer, I just couldn't get the building to be at 100%. Not sure how this works, but I guess I should keep an eye on deteriorating buildings from now on. And a bit later I decided that I want to experiment with daub, which is needed for insulating houses, making them use up less firewood. So I finally went with my trusty, barely working wooden shovel and dug up some clay from the nearby clay supermarket, and came back to the barn to make some daub. And yes, you can manually insulate walls of each building. A really cool system, but it does seem pretty expensive for the amount of houses I currently have in the village. But I have to admit, insulated houses look just superior. And now I decided to mount up and do some more exploration. And I'm going to be honest, the map is actually really interesting. I signed up for a survival game, but after all I ended up loving the management, hunting and exploration the most. I hit several abandoned ruins around my village and some more to the east. I got some tools, some coin and a lot of little environmental storytelling. But I also did manage to find another gift basket in an abandoned mill, and in it, iron greaves, 300 coins, and another silk thingy worth 750 coins. I guess this basket alone makes this whole adventure worth it. But while I was getting ready to get home, I did get attacked by wolves. Thankfully, copper arrows seem pretty overpowered for their low material cost. And after that, getting home seemed more or less straightforward. That is, until I found another bandit camp out in the wild. And that's the type of adventure I'm always ready for. And while they weren't challenging, they were there was only two of them. They did have a bunch of iron spears in their camp, perfect for selling later given how expensive iron anything is. I did try to sell them immediately in Piastovia, but the citizens were really preoccupied with sleeping. Well, you're lost, Piastovians, my half-broken iron spear will be sold somewhere else. Next morning I again talked with Olga to boost her affection, and boom, 40%. We're getting there much faster than with whatever her name was. After that I went to make a measly 1 copper bar. That's when I decided that enough is enough. Time to finally put myself first, not those ungrateful villagers. So I equipped my longbow and copper arrows and went to the valley with the annoying bear next to my village. Since I will need a lot of leather, why not kill 2 birds with 1 arrow and get rid of this beast too? So with my favorite guerrilla tactic, I managed to run away just enough times to actually put it down. Worth it. And an occasional elk will not hurt either, you know? After loading up on leather, now I need bronze bars to start making an actual armor. So I made a bunch of stone pickaxes and rode straight to Skauki's mine to load up on some copper and tin, ingredients for bronze ingots. And after I finally left the mines, both me and my donkey were over-encumbered with lots of ore. So I decided that this is high time to buy some saddlebags and raise the weight limit up a notch on that donkey. And for a moment I did not know how to put them on, but hey, there's a whole screen dedicated to donkey equipment. Nice. And now saddlebags raise his weight limit to 75 kgs. And they are visible too. After that I mined a bit more, and after I felt like it was enough for now, I left to my village. And hey, I put a little torch here. It's not doing much but looks kinda cool. I think it's cool. After all that, I went to bed. Time for winter to begin. And this is when I got one more decision to make. A thief was caught in my village, and I need to handle it. I decided that since I'm the boss here, the thief will be punished by someone else from my village. Turns out that was not the best choice, as people seemed really upset about that. Yes, the mood I spent raising all this time by building shelves for days, cancelled. The first wintry morning I spent in the smithy making copper and tin ingots, and then turning them into bronze bars. I still don't have money for the armor schematics, but hey, that's not that hard to make, especially since I still have a ton of bags to sell. So I made my way to Skauki and sold the bags and some wine, making me a bit more liquid. But then I heard weird sounds coming from the nearby house. It was a kid pretending to be a chicken. Alright, I talked to his mom and she just said she's worried about her kid being a weirdo, so I should go and talk him out of being a chicken. So I talked to the boy and told him that his mom thinks he's mentally ill. He asked me for thick gloves and a pickaxe, so he can go and be a real man in the mine. Alright, I see no problem with that. Stone pickaxe was fairly straightforward, so I made one. But the thick gloves, I had no idea where to look for them, and Skauki was definitely not the place. So I rode to Piastovia, but the local clothes trader did not seem to have thick gloves either. So instead I decided to buy some linen stuff from the materials guy and proceeded with the idea of making the gloves myself. But on my way home, this happened. Oh no, oh no, oh no, no, no. Whoa. Ah!
Finally, some enters the...
Oh my god. Is there more? I'm actually so low right now. Wait, there's another guy. I got shot on my way home. If that isn't a testament of how much I need armor, then I don't know what is. But first, the thick gloves, which, yeah, I can in fact make here in my sewing hut. Nice. I came back to the boy and gave him the mining equipment. Good enough. His mom also seemed happy with the result, and for me, that's one more quest well done. And now back home, let's try to not get distracted by random things this time. I bought the schematics for armor, or at least most of it, and made whatever parts I could with the amount of bronze I had, which for now was the chestplate, bracers and the helmet. Better than nothing. Next morning I noticed that I had a massive amount of complaints and production halts in my village. The amount of mothers here is literally ruining the economy. So I had to take the matters into my own hands and provide some much needed materials myself, knocking one need after another. And after stuff was more or less stable, I went back to the mines to dig up some more copper and tin for bronze, since I really need to get that armor finally done. Next up, bronze legwear. I don't need the shoes since I still have the iron ones I found in that gift basket. And here we go, a full bronze armor. Now no simple cutthroat will be able to one-shot me with a wooden crossbow from the bushes. And it looks pretty damn cool too. And since I still had some bronze to spare, I made a couple of bronze greaves, just to see how they sell. And this time travel through the wintry wilds turned out to be difficult. I got attacked by boars, a wolf pack, and a bear all at once. I basically had no chances of survival here. I was absolutely sure that my donkey is gone, but thankfully after respawning, he's fine. And to treat my wounds, I actually slept early this time. And in the morning I traveled through the same area as last time, but this time slower and avoiding any large groups of animals. And we arrived at Klonica. I talked to Chebor to sell the armor, but also for another reason. Klonica still has some unique quests, and he's giving one of them. I got a quest from this guy to deliver his favorite knife for sharpening to some other guy far, far away. And this guy indeed is rather far, on the other side of the map, in Skauki. But thanks to my donkey, the traveling isn't an issue now. On my way I fought some wolves, which seemed to guard a small camp here. Nothing super special, but someone did leave 200 coins just laying here. Cool. But now back on the road. I arrived in Skauki and talked to Wojciech, the sharpening knife guy. And apparently Chebor has been late with payments for all the previous times he's asked this guy to sharpen the knife. What the hell am I doing here? I paid the debt myself. 100 coins is not that terrible, but still, I feel kinda scammed. But whatever. I'm not riding back to Klonica, so I asked Agent 47 for a ride.
Hello there.
I talked to Chebor and told him I'm kinda pissed. He said suck it and left. No one respects me, but the quest is completed. But there's one more unique quest in Klonica, here to the east, and it's a camp with a woman and a child. The woman told me her daughter has been kidnapped and held hostage by some bandit woman, and Lastri remembers the bandit was coming from the swamps area, so that's where I should start to investigate. On the bridge to the swamps, I noticed abandoned belongings, which have been scattered around in a hurry. Amongst them, a doll and a flute. Further into the swamps, some dead wolves, who clearly wanted to get someone who was hiding atop of this rock here. And a bit further, a familiar camp. A woman and a child I've seen during my first swamps exploration, but this time more talkative. The child asked me to help the bandit woman, who has been badly injured during the wolf attack. And apparently her and the bandit woman are friends. So I gave the woman a healing potion, since I had one lying around anyway. The woman thanked me, hardly believing that someone would just help her like that. And now the girl was ready to go to her mother, knowing that her friend is gonna be fine. So we ran through the swamps and through the surrounding forest. I mean, literally run, this girl is a sprinter. And after we arrived, the mother revealed the rest of the story. They are wandering nobles, and the girl is to be married off to some lord far, far away. Yikes. Girl is of course not thrilled about this, understandably. But she did give me a drawing, and asked to give it to Yagna, the bandit woman, as a parting gift. I'm gonna be honest, we went from sharpening knife quest to a whole multi-step storyline quest with branching narratives and deep messages. God damn. I gave the drawing to now fully healed Yagna, which sent her on an emotional spiral of wanting to save the child from getting married off to some lord. I didn't really calm her down either, quite the contrary. I accepted her request for an iron battle axe to try to stop her mother from marrying off her daughter. Cool, I went from pig farming to an indirect murder. I quickly traveled to the city and nope, no one is actually selling iron tools, let alone battle axes. So for now this whole quest has to wait, at least until I can craft one. And I hope this quest does not go into fail mode after a season change. Just look at all them steps I already accomplished without any rewards yet. Especially since, you know, the season is literally changing any minute now. And since I have this couple minutes to myself, I did some more ruin exploration around Piastovia in hopes that maybe, just maybe, an iron battle axe will just randomly spawn in a loot pool, please, 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 in one of them. And hey, another gift basket, this time with an iron pickaxe. Well, almost what I needed. Next morning the quest is still active. Nice, means I have more time. I talked to my future wife and after giving her some gifts, I boosted the affection further into 49% and then went to build another woodshed, a fourth one at this point, because that's what you do in a forest village. And hey, the moods are going up after that thief fiasco. But then I noticed that I can actually make an iron battle axe already. All I need is a schematic, which costs a whopping 1500 coins and a couple of iron ingots. Let's do it. So I quickly visited Skauki since it's quite a bit closer than Piastovia and sold whatever I could. I came back to the forge and started smashing the hammer on a raw piece of iron until it resembled an iron battle axe. And since I still had some iron, I made two more. And now I travel to swamps to talk to Yagna and give her her weapon, which she will use to kill some morally ambiguous but otherwise undeserving people. And now there she goes, to commit some proper crimes, I guess. Glad I could help. And now, like nothing ever happened, I visited Piastovia to pay my taxes. And hey, the King's Herald is here again, and this time he will let me name my village. But I do need to pay 10,000 coins for that. Well, I guess I know what I'm saving up for now. Next morning, more flirting. Managed to get Olga to like me at 69%. We might actually have a shot at this. I'm actually slowly starting to believe that maybe, just maybe, she won't get married off like that other medieval woman. Then I made some animal feed for pigs and gathered some pig poop by hand, which is the main ingredient for fertilizer. And then I walked around and spruced up the village with more fences, because there will never be enough fences, never. Even made those little garden areas. Eco-friendly medieval village, ladies and gents. Not to mention a couple of benches for my villagers to love this place even more. And hey, apparently you can even plant trees. I could always use more trees in this forest village, you know. And quite frankly, the village does not look half bad now. Then I went and mined more copper and tin in the nearby mine. We need to get up and running every production facility we have to earn that 10,000 as fast as possible. After smelting the first batch, I visited Scout Skauki mine and did the same thing. And honestly, that was the day. Just a bunch of mining and smelting. I managed to craft 3 bronze armors for trading. Next morning I tried selling them to Wojciech, the knife sharpening guy, but he was actually too broke to buy them off of me. Should have saved up that 100 coins I gave you last time, you debt collector. And after that I went to the mine again, but this time to mine only iron. Then smelted it into 19 iron bars at the smithy, which then magically turned into 9 battle axes. Buying the schematic for this wasn't cheap, so making the battle axes whenever possible, right? And since I had a second, again grinding affection with Olga. This time we ended up on 86%. She really must like our 3 conversations a season we have. Then I went to the city and sold all the stuff I crafted, also buying some raw flax off the market so I can turn it into clothes and profit. This way I ended up with more than 4,000 coins to my name. Came back to the village, turned flax into flax stalks into threads and linen, and then made a bunch of simple hoods again. And after selling them too, we have 6,320 coins. Close to 10,000, but not quite my tempo yet. This beautiful summer morning was started off by flirting with Olga yet again, but this time I managed to finally reach the 100% affection. And without waiting a second, I asked her to marry me. A cool marriage animation plays, and here we go. I am now officially a married man. And first thing she tells me is that I am not wearing proper clothes for the weather. To which I responded that we totally should make a child ASAP. She just winked and said to talk to her after 7 PM. That was quick. 1 second you're flirting, another you're a married man with a family and a whole village to feed and pay taxes for. And hey, the apples are back. And the farm shed workers are actually gathering them? That's actually so cool. But for me, back to mining. Iron mining, to be precise. I really need to grind this 10k and finally name my village. So, another 10 battle axes it is. And this is the last selling run of the first day of summer. And after selling a bunch of stuff, including some parts of my own armor, I managed to get to over 10,000. The only problem being, the King's Herald is not here. Well, we will have to wait for him till the next season, I guess. Oh, so what the hell. I came back home to my Olga. Time to assemble the child. She called me a stallion and ended up the conversation, and went to sleep. We really are married, huh? Next morning I optimized the toolmaking, so the farmers won't stop all the time and complain that they don't have sickles. Seems to be working so far. And since it is summer, I decided to first time ever make actual weather appropriate clothes. And now I am not only stylish, but also heat protected. First time ever, during summer, I don't actually have this overheating icon at the bottom left. Took me 4 years, but here we are. And since I also made a couple more, I traveled to Skauki to sell some. But on accident I accepted a quest from Wojciech. Apparently his neighbor is copying everything he does, from his haircut to literally his entire house layout. So I talked to his neighbor Nashebor, and he told me he does not copy him, and there is plenty differences in their houses. And I should totally go and point 5 of them to Wojciech. So now I have to run between both of their houses and try to find differences. And honestly, I really tried. I really tried. I was running one way, then back again, but no matter what I told Wojciech, he was not satisfied. So after a million tries and a bit of help from the internet, I managed to actually complete this clown fest. Otherwise I would be stuck here for ages. And next morning I noticed I had a woodshed level 2 unlocked now. And since wood is my main building material still, I decided to build it. But then I noticed that you can literally just improve the existing building, don't have to build it from scratch. And that takes so much less resources. Not to mention, an improved woodshed will net so much more wood too. And it has more slots for workers. So I went to Piastovia and recruited some people just for the woodworking. And then I got curious, does it work with other buildings? And yes it does. Smithy level 2 for fraction of the materials. So I built it and nice. Now we have a smithy on level 2, no new buildings required. Wish I knew building improvements were a thing earlier. So hell, why stop here? Let's upgrade the workshop. And yes, of course you can, nice. Now we have a workshop on level 2 as well, and that lets us make some stuff from clay. It's not super lucrative, but now we can. But then I got excited over the prospect of improving houses. But now houses don't seem to actually work this way. Well, I guess that's fair. My village with new improved buildings looks even better now than before. And honestly, it's more like a settlement now than a village. And you know what that settlement needs? A wooden wall around it, so it's a bit better protected. so I decided to make a small palisade around the living district here. But honestly, after finishing a bit of it, I actually really liked how it looked like. So I guess it's time for a bigger project than this measly half wall. So I started running around the settlement and created blueprints for a whole settlement-wide palisade. It's supposed to protect the entire village and make it look as medieval as it gets. And I'm gonna be honest, after some time of just spam clicking the left click, I realized that this project will be extremely hard to finish and will consume who knows how much wood and trees. So let's do it anyway. I decided to start by upgrading another woodshed for more passive wood income. The more people work on logs, the faster the palisade will be raised. And of course, a couple of little gates won't hurt either. So I put a couple of those too where I want the entrances to be. I started the morning by making some axes for woodcutting and started the work on the palisade. And honestly, there isn't much to it. I was cutting tree after tree after tree and putting all the logs we were producing in the village and all the logs I was personally cutting right into the wall. And I started to notice that the forest around our settlement is actually thinning at rather fast rates. Feels like industry. But I decided that for this amount of wood to be cut, I will need better axes. So first time ever, I made the bronze ones. And not only are they much faster, but they are also much more durable. And since I was losing a lot of time on just slamming the hammer against palisade blueprints, I did actually enable quick build this time, just to save some time. But now, more tree cutting, almost killing my own villagers, and hey, why not put a road and connect the south of the village to the main one? Looks kind of cool too, actual medieval settlement now. And now back to the wood chopping, entire day of wood chopping to be exact. And not only day, but nights too, since the villagers sleep and don't produce anything, so I am kind of forced to be working overtime here. And hey, working so hard I'm actually 100% dirty right now. In the morning, remember the forest where I hunted boars? It's gone. It's actually kind of crazy how much trees I must have cut here. My mouse is screaming in agony, and so is the local wildlife. But that's not the end. More tree cutting, more building. And hey, the villagers are actually helping. Look at that guy go. And after some time I cut the northern side of the forest too, meaning that I single-handedly cut south, east and now north forest. That must be like 100 trees now. And first day of winter, even more chopping. This is an entire day of chopping wood. But while chopping trees until evening is not super fun, I did manage to finally build the last part of the palisade. It is done. The project that took half of the local forest is done. But at what cost? At the cost of having a nice view now. I can see entire valley from here now. Nice. And honestly, lack of the forest does add some weird charm to this place. But now I need a break from holding my left mouse button. So I decided to go to a village I have never seen before. To Ostoja, in the east. So I rode past Piestovia, and alongside the river I noticed a bandit camp. Nice. Those are always a nice fun time and some additional coin. So after dispatching the bandits, I started looting the place. And hey, some bronze armor. Cool. And as always, some money. But also something more interesting. One of the bandits had an iron crossbow. So let's test it out in the most eco-friendly way I can think of. And just as I thought, it is a one-shot, one-kill type of weapon. But now I continued my travel, and after some time I saw Ostoja in the distance. It seems like a fishing village, and there is quite a bit of charm to it, I see. Looks really cool. I talked to the first person with a quest I could find, and this is Stoisława. And the interesting thing about Stoisława? Well, she saw a dead body alongside the road and she really wants me to check it out. And there is in fact a body here, a body named Milton, and he's not even dead. Apparently him and his friend were having a bet who can pretend to be dead the longest. Well, I guess this mystery is figured out then. I told everything to Stoisława and well, she wasn't so happy with Milton. But a quest finish is a quest finished, even if it is a short one. I explored a bit more and that was it for Ostoja for me. It is getting late, so I decided to come back home. And holy does the village look cool with the palisade all around it. Days of work, but cool as heck. Next morning I started with some home insulation, and with the idea to build a storage building outside the walls here, to extend the building range again. And honestly I never turned off the quick build after the palisade project, and honestly I don't hate it. Instant building for instant material consumption. And now I have a new storage unit. Nice. And hey, our village is actually at the development stage called settlement. I can't make this up. Progress. Then I decided to build more houses inside the walls. So beam bam boom and here we go. Another house just popped up. And hell, why not immediately insulate it too? And while I was going to gather more clay, look at that! The excavation workers actually excavating clay. I had no idea there was an animation for that, but it is really cool. And now after all that hard work of building, insulating, digging and cutting, I finally just walked around my village just to take it all in. And honestly, not a bad job, huh? It is kind of cozy even though it is still the last day of winter. And next morning I was asked to choose the gender of my child, so I went with a dice roll. And apparently I'm having a girl. I named her Olga after her mother, and hey, I actually have a family now. I rode as fast as I could to Piastovia. I could even see on compass that King's Herald is here. I walked right into the local tavern where he always sits and asked him the question, but he hit me with the "King barely knows you" line. What? A season or two ago he wanted 10,000 and now he does not let me name my village at all. So I checked King's opinion of me and indeed, the King's grace fell from very good to only good. No idea what I did to deserve this, but alright. So I took a quest from the King himself, hoping that this will make him like me more. And I'm supposed to make a bunch of shovels. Should be easy. So I went to the mines and dug out some stuff for bronze. Came back to the village, settlement, smelted all that and crafted, well, 3 out of 5 bronze shovels. Back to the mine then. And now we have the shovels. I came back to the city as fast as I could, and maybe too fast. And gave the quest back to the Herald. But the King wasn't impressed and still didn't let me name my village. So I shot him, and I decided to name my village in my own right, without the King's help nor approval. And I hereby name my settlement Logfall, in the name of all the fallen trees necessary to make this whole thing work. Thank you all for watching. This one took way too long to make and write, and I hope you had a good time. But for now, I called it a day. A medieval Dynasty.